Welcome. I'm your host, and today I'm going to be doing my best to try and explain and navigate the world of tariffs, given that they're being spoken about with such high frequency at the moment by every other world leader. First things first, I'm no expert on this topic, but I'm actually no expert on any topic, but I am trying to learn as much as I can, and hopefully I can filter some of that information down to you. Secondly, I'm going to be playing this with a straight bat and just explain how it all works without a political opinion. It is not my intent to sway you which way politically, but it is my intent to provide more knowledge and information to you. Firstly, I need to give some context. The global economy and international trade is dynamic, complex, and ever evolving. Each nation is different, even if only slightly, and a comparison between them can give insight into their respective economic trajectories and the ever changing nature of global labour dynamics. Now, put as simply as I can possibly do it, tariffs are taxes imposed on imported goods. A tariff can be used as a trade barrier, which may affect prices, availability of certain products, and the economy overall. Hopefully, as you and I go through this topic, I'll be able to adequately explain how the tariff system works, its impacts both domestically and internationally, and ultimately, who bears the costs of the tariffs. Now, when we're looking how the tariff system works, we have two major types of tariffs. We have specific tariffs, which is a fixed amount, or, and I hope I pronounced this correctly, ad valorem tariffs, which is percentage. Now, specific or fixed is levied as a fixed fee based on the type of an item. So, for example, we're looking at $1,000 on a car or $100 on a washing machine. Regardless of the value of the item, there's always going to be that specific dollar amount. When we're looking at the percentage tariff, it's levied based on the item's value. So, for example, 10% on the value of a car or 5% on the value of a washing machine. Each of these types can come in different forms. Now, this is more just an FYI and can maybe assist in understanding why some tariffs are put in place. So, we have tariffs imposed on the grounds of national security. So, maybe something required for construction of military vehicles or military bases or weapons. I'm thinking maybe steel or those sorts of items. Then we've got tariffs imposed due to unfair trade practices. So something like poorly perceived trade deals, which is sort of what America's dealing with at the moment, with the perception of the trade deals with Canada, Mexico, and China. Then we have tariffs imposed to protect certain industries from international competition. I'll quickly go through an example a bit later on, but a good example of that is the 2018 washing machine tariffs that were imposed. And then we have universal tariffs, which is just tariffs on from a whole country or an item or a certain company. A tariff can be applied to a specific product, i.e., washing machines, a whole country, as previously mentioned, China, Mexico, or Canada, or both. So, washing machines from China or vehicles from Mexico or poutine from Canada. I don't know, it's a horrible example. Now, just to muddy the waters, there is something called the tariff rate quotas, or TRQs for short. TRQs is an alternative to the previously mentioned tariffs. Under TRQs, a certain amount of imports are allowed at a lower tariff rate, but after a certain amount, higher tariff rates apply. Now, these may be put in place to encourage sourcing materials or goods domestically as opposed to internationally. So, if we're looking at vehicles from Mexico as an example, the first 1,000 that are imported might have the lower tariff rate. And then once you hit 1,001 and everyone above that, then they'll be at the higher tariff rate. And it's probably exponentially higher to really avoid going over that lower rate limit. Looking now at the impact of tariffs, and tariffs generally lead to higher prices for the consumer. This is due to the added cost being passed on so that businesses and companies maintain their profits. That's what they're built and designed to do, is to make money. An example of this is the aforementioned 2018 washing machine example. So a tariff was placed on the washing machines that were coming into America to try and protect the American-made washing machines from internationally manufactured washing machines. This saw a price climb of about 12% for the washing machines as they were coming into America. It did result in an increase of local jobs for US-based washing machine companies. However, this did not cover the overall costs borne by the consumers. And it was only for two smaller American towns and equaled, I think, 3,200 jobs between the two towns. Tariffs can also lead to reduced output and employment. So tariffs lead to increased costs, which can lead to a decrease in the availability of goods and services, which results in an increase in the costs, supply and demand, which means you pay more. Then you have less disposable income and are unable to put the money back into the economy, ultimately slowing the economy down. Then there is also retaliatory tariffs. An example of this is the tariffs that China put in place during Trump's first term as president, which are in direct response to the tariffs Trump's administration also put in place. So a little bit of tit for tat, which can have epic outcomes for everybody. Tariffs then lead to a decrease in imports and exports. However, this can sometimes lead to an increase in trade with other nations where the tariffs aren't so high. But always keep in mind that tariffs generate revenue for governments. So tariffs work well for governments, therefore the governments will want the tariffs in place. Now to the part we're all concerned about, which is who actually pays the tariffs. And I cannot stress this enough. While tariffs are imposed on importers, the cost is primarily paid by the consumer through higher prices. Think of it in this sort of broad sense, with three possible outcomes from tariffs being imposed. The first one is that the exporting company or country pays the tariff through lower prices or maintaining prices and paying it out of their profits. Or the importing company or country pays the tariff through taking a cut in their profits. Keep in mind that these companies are designed to make money. The third outcome, and the more likely one, is that the consumer pays for it through increased prices. Businesses and companies are designed to make a profit. Their shareholders want more money, and they aren't about to change. Therefore, the consumer, that is you and I, are going to be paying for the tariffs that are put in place. Looking now at the domestic impact, tariffs increase costs for consumers. I've said it multiple times before, and I'll probably say it again before the end. Tariffs can lead to job losses also that are in industries that rely on imported goods or face retaliatory tariffs from other countries. Tariffs can also lead to a reduction in economic output. However, tariffs generate revenue for the government. And as I said before, that's what the government wants. Internationally, tariffs can lead to trade disputes and retaliatory tariffs from other countries. They can also lead to a shift in trade patterns with reduced trade from one country being diverted to another. And large-scale tariffs can contribute to a slowdown in global economic growth. The tariff system is complex, with different tariffs affecting different countries differently. While tariffs are intended to protect domestic industries, they can often have a negative impact through a myriad of factors on a myriad of levels. Understanding the nuances is important, not just for you and I as a consumer, but for the politicians, the policymakers, and the businesses themselves. It is important that you and I understand all this, even at a simple level like we're discussing now, because we're the ones that it affects the most, as we'll be the ones bearing the brunt of the tariffs.